I think I'm calling it quits on 1/6 scale collecting. I think I'm done. I think the collection has reached its pinnacle of what it's going to be, and I think I'm calling it quits finally. Or am I? Hey everyone, Mr. Mom Collectibles. I am back with another video. And no, I'm not quitting. That was just a joke, a little bit of clickbait action. I'm sorry. Yeah. Shame on me. But I will say, it did raise a question. So I had some family members over here that looked at the collection room for the first time. They were very taken back by everything. And also, they've never seen like 6 scale vehicles and figures before. So it was a really cool experience to kind of capture their reaction to all of this. And getting into it and having a conversation, it was brought up whether or not I would ever see myself quitting and just being done and keeping the collection as is and never adding any more to it. And it did make me think about that. And I'm not slowing down. I have altered my collecting habits this year in terms of who I buy from, how much I buy from, and the kind of curation that goes into my collection. And that being said, it was an interesting topic to make a video about. So the premise of this video is, if I was to decide that, hey, I'm going to hang it up in the 1/6 scale collecting and just keep my collection as is, there would still have to be some select pieces that I don't have that would have to be in my collection. So this is a list of 10 1/6 scale figures, maybe a vehicle, that I would really want to have in my collection before I called it quits. Just a fun video. Let's take a look at it. All right, so the first figure that I would really want to have in my collection is the Hot Toys animated Boba Fett. And the simple reason for this is because I went down a rabbit hole of collecting Boba Fett figures, starting with the 2-pack from the show, and then I got the Boba on Throne, then I got the Empire Strikes Back, and I got the Arena Fett. So I started collecting a whole bunch of Boba Fetts. Such a great character, such a badass. And so for me, it's kind of like the Iron Man Hall of Armor. I would want to kind of collect all of them, and what way to kind of add to the collection to go back to where it started, which was the first appearance from the Star Wars holiday, the Christmas show. And so the holiday special. So this is the animated version. Obviously he's up there for a hefty price. So that's why, a lot of people, this is the epitome of Grail. When people, even if that word's not used as much anymore, this is one that I would love to add to the collection, just because, like I said, it's the first, appearance of him. And so to have that translated in 6 scale form, it's just something that I kind of feel like I would really need to have in the collection to kind of round out my whole Boba Fett line of figures. My next pick is going to be another Boba Fett, but staying with the theme. And this is actually the Sideshow Prototype Boba Fett that was made. It is made by Sideshow. Hot Toys has yet to make one. I am actually kind of really holding out for this version because of that. I'm waiting to see if Hot Toys will ever step up and actually tackle this version of the character. Nevertheless, this was made by Sideshow. Back then, it was priced out on their website $179, and there was an exclusive edition and a collector's edition. And obviously, the version that I would want is the one with the towel. For those who know, obviously they did a prototype version for the movie of Boba Fett where he was all in white, and they didn't have a cape yet for him, so they put a Star Wars towel on him just to kind of give the idea, to give the concept. And there is some footage of this floating around on YouTube that you can definitely check out. But once again, just like the animated version, I do feel like it's very important to have this one in the collection because it is technically the first, Mark I type of Boba Fett. So for this, and the all white looks really awesome. I think I would have this posed up next to my Arena Fett, so the contrasting colors of the all black, all white, I think will look absolutely sick in the collection. I think one of the things I'm holding off on, the price doesn't really bother me as much because you can get it for a pretty, I don't want to say reasonable. Everyone has their own idea what reasonable is, but I have seen them floating around on price in online where I almost pulled the trigger a few times. I don't know. I think what's kind of holding me off is just the fact that it's Sideshow. I do have one piece from Sideshow, which is the General Grievous, which doesn't have the best track record. And so for like something like this, it being older, make sure the condition is what it is. But there's always the chance, I think, that Hot Toys can always go back and capitalize on this one and make this figure, which I would prefer to probably have the Hot Toys version. I think that's kind of what's holding me off. If I had to choose between this and the animated, I probably would go the animated first and try to chase that one down, and then really have this one be the absolute last, just because I'm kind of leaving as much hope open that Hot Toys would step up and make their version. But my next pick would be the animated, the prototype Boba Fett. Now, my next pick is going to be the DX10 T100 from Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Why? I mean, I feel like if you're a pop culture fanatic, you got to have a Terminator, you got to have an Alien, you got to have a Predator in your collection. And these are three IPs that Hot Toys is really kind of haven't really dove back into remaking. Whether or not they have to or not, that's a different conversation. We did get a Predator from, Prey, but for me to have representation in my collection of Terminator, T2 is my favorite of all the Terminator movies. So therefore, this is the version I would want. You could throw it around if I, get this one and the other DX that's battle damage. But for me, if I had to choose one, it's definitely the clean version. This originally retailed for $229 with the all, the sculpt still holds up. It's unbelievable how well this sculpt still holds up to today. I know Present Toys made a version of this, which I don't think was worth it for the price. I think that was like $220. And I mean, I've seen this one floating around anywhere between $450, $500, $400, between that $400 to $500 range. So, I mean, for me, I'd rather save up and just get the original, but obviously questioning, the goods, the soft goods, whether or not they're still in good condition. I know people have done leather kits where you can, redress the figure in leather boots and a jacket to maintain the quality over time. But this just sums up the epitome of Terminator. I know there's multiple versions from the first Terminator, even, the endoskeleton versions too. But for me, if I had to choose one, this would be the version for me. My next pick would be easy. It's the DX08 Joker from the 1989 Batman movie. It's my favorite Batman movie of all time. Michael Keaton's my favorite Batman, so it's no doubt in my mind that Jack Nicholson is the Joker. I mean, his rendition was he made it his own, definitely. And I know that when it comes to the Joker, people have their own say about who the best one is, him, Heath Ledger. But one thing I think is undeniable from all collectors is how well this still holds up, even being 10 plus years old when this figure came out. This was a DX8 at the time. And the sculpt is just still, this is arguably, and when people do their top 10 head sculpts, this still is up there. Sometimes even people's top 5. That's how unbelievable this sculpt is. And all the accessories that it comes with, just everything from the movie. It's just such a fantastic figure. And for me, having the 89 Batman, I mean, I have to have the counterpart to this. And this is something that I don't have yet. I did have the Mars Toys Joker for a while in this version. It was pretty much like a recast, but it still didn't, it was okay, but it wasn't great. I actually ended up giving it to my nephew because I just wasn't satisfied with it over time. It just kind of stood out to me. It just wasn't there. So for me, one day I'll pony up to get this. I know there's been some rumors floating around that this has been put out for some showcases, that there is always the chance of a 2.0 coming out. They did do that with the 89 Batman. So you could say maybe I'm a sucker and I'm holding out for a 2.0. But this is one of those figures I wouldn't have a problem. I know sometimes people get 2.0s just because the old one, maybe they're expecting an upgrade, but I'd be completely happy getting the original just because this just gave you so much stuff. And as a DX, these were like when DXs were really truly DXs, which is all the accessories. And so, like I said, this would be one that I would definitely have to have in my collection, which is the DX08 Jack Nicholson Joker from Batman. So continuing the trend with 80s pop culture is going to be, I'm putting 2 in this one, so don't kill me on this one. I'm going to do a 2-for-1, which is the Hot Toys Marty McFly and Doc Brown from Back to the Future Part 2. Back to the Future is one of my it's one of my 4 favorite my pillar stones of my childhood. I always say that. Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, 89 Batman, and RoboCop, and I have representation of almost all of those. When it comes to Back to the Future, I think Hot Toys, not say they're inconsistent with them, but recently, I did pick up at the very beginning of this year the Mark II DeLorean. We got the Part 1 figures and the Part 3 figures. So what's missing? The Part 2 figures. So you have the Marty and the Doc. And so these obviously have been put out for, they've done these in showcases and stuff. So it's really given collectors some kind of hope that one day they give us 2.0s or they give us different versions of these figures. But for me, I would love to complete. Now, the cars, I don't need to have all three cars. They did tease, I missed out on the first one. I wasn't collecting Hot Toys when the first DeLorean was available, and they have teased the third one in promo photos for the Back to the Future Part 3 figures. So if that ever saw the light of day, I would definitely jump on the the Mark III DeLorean, but that's not for me priority. One car in the collection is perfectly fine, but when it comes to the figures, I do need to have all the figures represented. So one day I would love to have these two in the collection. Part 2 is my favorite Back to the Future of all three movies. I do love the first one, but I grew up. The second one was actually the first one I saw. So I saw the second one, and then I went back and saw the first one, then the third one. I actually saw it, in that order. So I do have a very sentimental attachment to Part 2. And that being said, these figures would one day have to be in the collection. You the pop culture influence, it's strong. So the next one is going to be the Ed 209 from Hot Toys 1/6 scale figure. This retailed at $409.99. And this is, like I said, from the first RoboCop movie. I do currently have the original diecast RoboCop and the RoboCop from Part 3. And this beast is just something that I would love to have in the collection. I love unique pieces, especially big towering pieces. And I think as a compliment, to RoboCop, this is such a great piece. For me, whenever I get, a hero or something like that, and then they also make a villain, I would love to try to get the pair together from anything. Like I said, the Batman and Joker, and the same thing here. The Ed 209 just looks fantastic. I feel like this is something that will eventually make it into the collection. You just got to be smart with this one because it does have issues, especially the big, the cracking on the top here. So you have to be smart with who you're buying it from. But the next piece, this would definitely be something that I would love to add to my collection sooner or later. I have seen this one come up. There's been a couple versions of this one. I have seen some come up at a pretty decent price. Just like I said, other stuff been working on. So this is something I would love to add to the collection one day, probably sooner than later to have, is the Ed 209. I just think that this would be an awesome piece on the shelf with RoboCop. That way I have one RoboCop with him, and then I still have the Part 3 with the jetpack. So the next one would be Ed 209. The Han Solo and Chewbacca 2-pack from Star Wars A New Hope, retailing at $479. This is something that I would absolutely love to have because I don't have a Han Solo represented in my collection. I do have Luke Skywalker. I do have Ben Kenobi. So I feel like Han Solo is something I would love to have. If they ever decide to make another one, I mean, I don't want to jump on that hype of, Hot Toys, where's Bespin Han or Return of the Jedi Han. I mean, I'm still so happy with this version of him and Chewbacca as the 2-pack. So if they ever did some kind of updated version, but I still think that these still hold just as strong as they do today as they did when they were first released. Absolutely love these figures. And there's something I've always come back to. So for me, I would love to have the representation of both of these characters in my collection, in my Star Wars display. I don't have every figure from A New Hope. When it comes to Star Wars, I kind of pick and choose, depending. Empire Strikes Back is specifically my favorite movie, but because, like I said, our limited versions of Han Solo that are available, I would probably go back, this is the key, original appearance of Harrison Ford as Han Solo and Chewbacca. So this is just one that I would absolutely love to have. I just love the accessories. I love the look of it. I love his look in this movie, and Chewie, them both together. I mean, this is a sick display. Absolutely sick. Understand there are obviously a lot of issues with this, a lot of the pleather, Chewie with his harness here, even the gun belt and all this stuff. I mean, obviously it's condition issues that can be plagued with these figures, but nevertheless, it's something that I would eventually love to have in the collection. All right, so we're getting down to the nitty gritty. So the next 2-pack set that I would love to have is the Grand Moff Tarkin and Darth Vader 2-pack 1/6 scale figures from Hot Toys from Star Wars A New Hope. The reason for this is because this set looks phenomenal. I've seen this pop up quite a few times. It is one of those that just a lot of people love to have. I actually love the A New Hope version of Darth Vader, the imperfections and all. Like the helmet was never proportioned. The suit never really lit up. It was very basic, and then it evolved and got cleaner and sharper as the movies went along. I actually love the original version of Darth Vader. I love the design of it. That coupled with Grand Moff Tarkin, I think it's just a home run of a figure. I think the sculpt looks great. I love Imperial officers in general. I wish Hot Toys would do more of them, just because I think they just there's something different, and we just don't. You kind of want what you don't get often. So I love the Imperial officer look, and I think the head sculpt it's a 10 out of 10. It ranks up there in some of the best sculpts that Hot Toys still done for how old this set is. It's an expensive one, it's a pricey one, no doubt. But I also love characters when they come with accessories, like how Grand Moff Tarkin comes with like a chair that he sits down in. I like that uniqueness of breaking away from just the static museum pose that many figures, are in, or what they come with. So I like the fact that he comes with the chair accessory, that he can be sitting down and then Darth Vader's kind of towering over him, or you can use Darth Vader in another part of your display. So definitely an awesome 2-pack, and one that I would absolutely love to have in the collection. Last two, picks number 2 and picks number 1, are the heartbreaking ones. They're the ones that are, without a doubt, they're must-haves. Some other things on here are figures that, yes, like I said, I want them in the collection. But if there was ever a must-have, they're probably the most expensive. These are my ultimate grails of grails. The first being the Ecto One from Ghostbusters, the original. This was at the time on Sideshow for $13.90. Now the car, can't touch the car for any less than $2,500 to $3,000 on the aftermarket. Sometimes you get it for a unicorn of a price if someone's selling it local, pickup, things like that. But I absolutely love Ghostbusters. I mean, you see stuff on the channel. I don't have to tell you how much I love Ghostbusters. And for Blitzway at the time to do the 1/6 scale Ecto One, like I said, it came out unfortunately when I wasn't collecting 6 scale vehicle, 6 scale in general. So I'm pretty, upset that I missed out on this. I would have jumped on this in a heartbeat. I know that they have the Afterlife version, but that's not the Ecto One to me. That I know it's the OG, it's the original. Yes, I could have gotten the Afterlife one. I know a lot of people ended up getting that. I'm not calling that a quote unquote settling kind of thing. It's just that, I understand an Ecto One doesn't come up around that often, so people jumped on it. For me, I did pass on it just because the weathering and all that stuff. It's not the iconic Ecto One that I'm used to. So this obviously, I mean, I've seen numerous videos from Denobi to others have had this with the whole light feature, everything like it's a monster of a vehicle. I mean, it's enormous, and it's something that I would absolutely love to have in my collection one day. I would just have to save up for it. I don't see this original car. I personally don't see it being reissued. Even the car in the new movie is still a different car. It's not the original 84. They've made changes to it even further. And so you'll never see this one, I think, again, personally reissued. So if I do want to go after this, I would have to chase it down on the secondary market. But my number 2 pick is going to be the Ecto One. Which leads me to my number 1 pick. If I was to quit 1/6 scale figure collecting today, these figures would have to be in my collection in order for me to do that. That's the ultimatum. I mean, it is just what it is. It's the 4-pack Ghostbusters from the movie from Blitzway. These are amongst many sought after. Prices are ridiculous. But like anything, if you can get the right deal at the right time, you just got to have the money, cash on hand to do it. I have seen these even in today's market sell, for the 4-pack between $2,000, which, I mean, if you want to call that reasonable. They did do the 3 by themselves, and then you could do Winston as the 4th. But these figures by Blitzway are just unbelievable. It encapsulates my childhood here. And for me to be comfortable walking away from 1/6 scale collecting, these would have to be in my collection, is what it is. And I know that Present Toys had announced their version, which are somewhat recasted. I mean, most of the Proton packs and everything are recasts with original sculpts. I'm not a fan of them. I don't think they look good. I know a lot of people are buying them because that's the closest they're going to get to the representation of the characters. But even they're not cheap for third party. They're going to be between $200 to $220 a piece. So you're talking $800 on third party figures. I mean, if you just save up, and that's the problem. And it's to each his own as a collector. Some people are comfortable spending that and not saving up $2,000 to buy or even more to get these figures. I understand it's your money. I'm not here to preach and tell you how to spend by any means. It's just that for me to be comfortable, I would want to have the original licensed versions in possession. As of now, Star Ace has a license. I'm not going to say the license because a lot of collectors speculate, oh, who's got what. So I know Star Ace has a license and they are actively producing 6-scale Ghostbusters. Right now they have Slimer, they had the Stay Puff, and they just released the Terror Dog Gozer. So it's, they are doing that. So I am interested to see if they come up and actually step up to the plate and take their swing at doing the 4 Ghostbusters and what that quality is going to be like. If that quality is good and those head sculpts look good, that's something that I will absolutely entertain. But until then, like I said, these, is my number one. So it is the Blitzway 4-pack Ghostbusters. So that being said, guys, this was just basically, like I said, this is a list that I put together because I was asked when my collection was when my collection was looked at, do I ever see myself slowing down or specifically quitting? And it's it's an interesting thought. I know it comes across a lot of collectors once in a while. I have the space, everything's budgeted, so no, I'm not quitting anytime soon. I'm just obviously going to be curating my collection smarter to increase that longevity. But it was interesting to think that, hey, if I was to hang it up today, am I content with the way that my collection is currently? And what pieces would I have to be in my collection to make me comfortable walking away? And the list that I just gave you as of today, it could always change, but as of today, filming this video, the list that you have just run through, that is the list of figures and vehicle that I would have to have in my collection. Now, to specify, I have stuff on pre-order. I have the Jazz Inc. 89 Batmobile. I have the Hot Toys Batmobile. I have the 89 Batman 2.0. I have other figures on order coming out next year. A Clone War, Attack of the Clone Wars, Anakin, Mace Windu, things like that. There's other figures that I have. Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, that's a must. I'm not counting any of those pre-orders. Every figure you saw is pretty much something that's already come out that I have to backwards grab. And that was the point of this video, because I have active pre-orders on stuff that I'm already factoring those into the collection. I'd have to have a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. He's already on order. He's coming home. Things like that. The Flash figures, things like that. Supergirl. Like, there's certain figures I have on pre-order that I'm not counting for. That's why everything you saw here are pretty much older figures to complete my collection. So that being said, I thought this was an interesting topic. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Please consider dropping a like on this video and subscribing to the channel if this is in fact your first time and you enjoy the content and more content. And more importantly, drop a comment on the video. Let me know what your thoughts are on my list and what your list is. Do you have a couple figures in mind that you would have to have, no ifs, ands, or buts, to call it quits, that you're comfortable with, that you can look at every day? Or are you content with the way that your collection is now? Drop a comment below and let me know. And until then, this is Mr. Mom Collectibles saying take care, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you.